Okay, hello. Welcome to your restorative practice. Get comfortable to begin. We're going to practice Viloma breathing. So you can lay down on your back if you want. You can come to an upright seat, but make sure that you are comfortable. Your spine is at ease in whatever shape you're choosing. And our Viloma breath, just as a reminder, is a 3-part inhale and 1 long exhale. Breathing in through the nose, you'll pause at the belly, take a second sip of air, pause at the heart, and you'll take a third sip of air and pause at the head. And then you'll take 1 long exhale all the way out through the nose. Okay, so let's relax the eyes, maybe close the eyes, maybe you just soften your gaze. And just take a few neutral breaths here to begin. Start to bring your attention and awareness to the breath moving through the body. Let's take 1 more normal breath here, and then we'll begin Viloma breathing. So empty all the air out of the lungs. Inhale, pause at the navel. Inhale, pause at the heart. Inhale all the way up to the head. Exhale all the air out through the nose. Again, inhale, pause at the navel. Inhale, pause at the heart. Inhale, head. 1 long exhale. Inhale, navel. Inhale, heart. Inhale, head. Exhale. Inhale, navel. Inhale, heart. Inhale, head. Exhale. Inhale, navel. Inhale, heart. Inhale, head. Exhale. Try that 2 more times on your own. The next time you inhale, let your breath return to normal. Just a normal inhale and exhale through your nose. And then we're going to come down onto the belly. So if you want to take a few moments to move through some cat and cow, we're going to work a lot in the shoulders and the spine today. Mainly that's going to be our area of focus. So maybe take a few rounds of cat and cow. I'm going to grab a blanket, an extra one, and I will be right back. If you need to grab any extra props, please do so. So as usual, you're going to want a few pillows or something that's like a couch cushion, like what I have, like a huge couch cushion. That would work pretty well for this first shape. And you also might want to have a second pillow or blanket, something to rest your head on and keep your neck neutral. We're going to come into this belly down shape with our legs extended back behind us and thread the needle with the right arm underneath the left armpit. So I'll demonstrate the setup as usual. Okay, so we're laying down on our belly and we have a prop. you don't have to have this prop, but I have a prop underneath my belly, pelvis, and legs, not underneath the chest though, because you want space above that prop to thread the right arm underneath the left armpit, right arm underneath the left armpit. And then you're trying to relax your head down onto something tangible. You can turn your forehead down to the mat and rest the top of the forehead. You can also look off towards those right fingertips and turn the head along with that right arm. You could stack a folded blanket or pillow underneath the right side of the head as well. Just make sure that you're comfortable in your neck. I think in my body in particular, doing this shape, threading the needle with the legs extended back behind me, because there's other variations, like in child's pose or tabletop with the legs. But doing this with the legs extended, I find it to be a little bit more accessible when we have a prop underneath the chest and the legs. So you could also just be flat to the floor on your belly and your legs, threading that right arm underneath your left armpit without any props underneath your body. That's fine too. But again, we want this to be sustainable. We're going to be here for about 3 minutes. And so you're looking for that place where you can breathe deeply through your nose, ideally, on both your inhale and exhale. And start to allow on the exhalations to let go of tension in the body. And if it helps, on the inhale, you can imagine inviting in lightness and spaciousness. And on the exhale, you can imagine letting go, letting it rest. Take one more breath here. And then you'll start to unwind your right arm, come back to center, and take a few breaths in a neutral position with your spine. That can just be stacking the hands underneath the forehead. You could also press up to tabletop and hips back to the heels for child's pose. Whatever you're choosing, let's take 3 breaths in between sides. And now we'll start to set up our second side. So to set up your second side, get that left arm, come back to the belly if you came into child's pose or tabletop, and then thread your left arm underneath your right armpit as far as you can. Reach that left arm across the body towards the right side. So you're trying to get your tricep all the way down onto the mat, arm straight-ish if possible. And support the head so that the neck is comfortable. So just say that to remind you to add in props if needed, if desired, because your neck shouldn't be super cranky in this position. It should be relaxed. So if your neck is feeling unwell, add some support underneath the left side of the head. Sometimes it feels nice to also just stack your right hand underneath your forehead. You want the back of the neck as neutral as possible. Getting heavy here as you breathe in, inviting in lightness and spaciousness. As you breathe out, letting it go, releasing any tension. Take one more breath where you are. You start to unwind. Find that neutral position in the body, whether you're just stacking your hands underneath your forehead or you're pressing back towards your child's pose. And again, we'll take 3 breaths and then we'll set up our next shape. Okay, so for our next shape, if we were laying on a prop, we're going to move that off to the side, off towards your left hip. So I'm going to scooch this giant couch cushion off to the left side, and then I'm going to come back down onto my belly. We're going to take broken wing And we're going to start on the left side. So just as a reminder, left arm out to the left side, the palms facing the floor. And you want to get your wrist and your elbow up in line with your shoulder, not below it, but above it. So look at those left fingertips and elbow, make sure they're in line or above the shoulder. And then you're going to turn your head over to the opposite side so that you can see your right fingertips. Press down through your right hand underneath your shoulder. And you're resting your head completely onto the mat or a folded blanket or pillow or any kind of prop to keep the neck relaxed. Once you've got that in place, press down into your right hand, roll body weight off to your left side. So you're rolling body weight as much as you can onto your left shoulder and your left hip. Because you slid that prop off to your left side, now with the right leg, you can reach back and let your right leg rest on top of it. You can bend the knee and plant the foot, or you can stretch that leg out long and just let it rest. If that's too much of a rotation for the hips and the spine, simply keep the legs stacked or bend the knees and just kind of have a fetal position in the lower half of the body. Just remember that you always have options here in these shapes. You're never stuck in one position. And we'll be here for 3 minutes. Let's start to find that slow, deep breath. On your inhale, imagine inviting in lightness and spaciousness. On your exhale, try letting it go. Let it rest. Sometimes it's helpful to keep that right hand in front of the chest and keep pressure on that hand to keep you from rolling forward onto your chest. If the rotation is there and you're feeling pretty comfortable in this shape, you can also take the right hand, forearm, behind the low back, kind of like a little chicken wing, and let it rest there. But if you start to feel like you're rolling forward towards your belly and your chest, bring your right hand back to the mat and just keep a little pressure there. Take one more breath here. When you're ready, go slow on your exit, roll back onto your belly. Take your time with that exit. And again, you can choose to rest here on your stomach, or you could press back to child's pose. We're going to take 3 breaths before we set up our second side. All right, so broken wing on the second side. So the right arm's gonna extend out to the right side, and then adjust your prop if you're using it outside of that hip. I'm just gonna turn around because this thing's heavy to drag across the mat. So laying down on the belly, right arm's gonna stretch off to the right side, palms facing the floor. You're turning to look at your left hand. Rest your head there completely down onto a prop or the mat. Start to press down into your left hand. Roll body weight onto that right side, right shoulder, right hip. Any amount of body weight is fine. You might not be completely stacked on your side. You might need to stay a little bit more towards the chest. It just depends on your own range of motion. First in the shoulder, second all the way down the spine into the hips and psoas muscle. There's so much happening in this shape, so just be mindful of your body, where it wants to naturally stop you. Please learn to honor those natural stopping points. There's so much wisdom in the body. Learn how to be patient and let your breath guide you here. Breath is such a great teacher. It can remind you about things like needing to back out or needing to add props. And you can start to notice those little telltale signs by becoming aware of the quality of your breath. So, can you breathe deeply? Can you get that breath moving down into the belly? Can you maintain the breath through the nose? And can you take longer inhales and longer exhales? There's always one side, and typically everything we do that has some limitation. And also, the opposite is true. One side that has some more freedom of movement, mobility. So, we're just working to balance those sides, but also honoring the differences between right and left. Let's take one more breath here. Slowly roll out onto the belly. Take that 3 rounds of breath, either on the belly or pressing back to child's pose. So this last shape is going to actually turn into our final Shavasana because it's deeply restorative. So I'm going to pull this big couch cushion back onto my mat. This is where the majority of my body is going to rest, everything except for the shoulders. So I really want you to pay attention to this setup because it's important to get the shoulders on the mat, not on the prop, right? So the rib cage is going to be lifted up towards the ceiling. The back, the pelvis, the legs, I want those on a prop. So if you have a shorter prop than this, bring a chair underneath the backs of the legs or stack more pillows and blankets underneath the backs of the legs so your feet are in line with your chest. So my legs are a little bit long. I need to add an extra prop. And then watch this. I'm going to lay down here, wiggle my shoulder blades up, 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 up until they dip off of the prop. And now my shoulder blades are in contact with the floor. They're not elevated. Okay, so we're lifting up right at the very base of the thoracic spine. This is known as supported shoulder stand. You can also add weight to the belly here. That might be really soothing for the nervous system as we settle into our final rest. This will be our final Shavasana as well as our final shape. And then we'll come out of this shape. We'll do a few rounds of Viloma breathing, and that will be the end of our practice. Start to settle in here, deepen your breath. Inhaling, inviting in lightness and spaciousness. Exhale, letting it go, letting it rest. Begin to deepen your breath here. Start to add in gentle movement to your fingertips and your toes. Maybe move your head side to side a few times. If you want to have the experience of Viloma breathing here in this current shape, feel free to stay as you are. You can close out your practice there. Otherwise, carefully roll off to a side and then make your way to an upright seat. And let your seat be supported. You can sit on top of the prop you were just laying on. Sitting up nice and tall if that's where you are. Relax your shoulders down your back. Deep breath in through your nose. Nice long exhale. 3 rounds of Viloma breath. Inhale belly. Inhale heart. Inhale head. Exhale. Inhale belly. Inhale heart. Inhale head. Exhale. Inhale belly. Inhale heart. Inhale head. Exhale, let it go. Breath returns to normal. Hands together at the heart, chin bows into the chest. Taking a moment to offer reverence and gratitude for your practice. To all of our teachers, past, present, future. To the teacher within your own heart. Namaste, yogis.